Anthony A.J. Joshua stopped Wladimir Klitschko's quest to become a three-time world heavyweight champion on Saturday night at Wembley Stadium in London. But boy, just like I predicted, the old man came to party and should have, in my opinion, won this fight. Wladimir got caught late and Joshua got him out of there with a final flurry in which none of Joshua's punches landed. If you watch the replay, you'll see that they were all misses or blocks. Just blocked punches and missed punches. But was in big trouble before that flurry. And the referee prematurely, in my opinion, waving it off. This fight was interesting. I think I gave Wladimir 1 or 2 of the first 4 rounds. I know most people had it 4-0, but I think I gave him the first, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe 1 or 2 of the other ones were close. I didn't really have a scorecard, but I started jotting some things down, and I believe where did I put the paper at? So I scored it, but I didn't. It was kind of like, but early on, Wladimir seemed to be getting a feel for things, trying to get proper distance. He was conserving his energy to force Joshua to go some rounds, which I mentioned he should do in a previous video. And everything was going according to plan. And Joshua gassed out just about when I predicted. But here's the problem, and I understand it's going to be controversial when I say it, so I'll only say it this one time. Something I said before the fight. Men who are extremely muscular have problems with stamina. It's just too much muscle to carry. Trust me, it affects them in the ring as well as the bedroom. The ladies don't lie when it comes to stuff like that. Now, if you remember, Klitschko back in the day was extremely muscular, like AJ currently is. And Emanuel Stewart, his old trainer, told him to lose some of that muscle and start working on technique, not physique. And the results were that Wladimir went on a 10-year run. Now, I'm not going to say it's totally because of that, but he started working on his technique and stopped worrying about the physique. One problem, so I'm not going to give it 100% credit, but one of the problems that got Wladimir stopped a few times was that his stamina wasn't there, and it was related to carrying all that muscle over the course of a lot of rounds. The stamina just wasn't there. So in this fight, when he took the gas out of Joshua in the middle rounds, everything was going according to plan, like I stated. Let's pay close attention to round 5, where AJ started off well, and then he dropped Vlad hard to the canvas. Vlad got up, but by the end of the round, however, he had Joshua gassed out and in trouble. So much so that at least one judge, as well as Showtime's Steve Farhood, scored the round 10-9 for Joshua and not 10-8 for AJ. And so did I. I thought that Klitschko came on strong enough to make it a 10-9 round for the simple fact that outside of that knockdown and him getting up pretty quickly, Joshua didn't do much, and he gave up too much after the knockdown. So then we get to the 6th round, and Vlad found pay dirt with a big right hand, followed by a left hook as AJ tasted the canvas for the first time as a professional. Here's the moment. When AJ got up, Wladimir tried to take him out, and AJ was exhausted. Watch the entire round. He didn't have his legs or a totally clear head. All of his faculties weren't where they should have been. Now, it's at this point in the fight where Vlad should have finished AJ. He should have got him out of there. Now, listen. Most muscle-bound guys, when they get tired like that, they don't recuperate the way that AJ did. If you look at his history, he's gassed in a few fights. He gassed out early in the Dillian White fight. And on Saturday night, he was right there for the old man to take. He had him against the ropes. Then a big right hand kind of sagged him like a pillow. And it should have been a matter of time. Wladimir Klitschko should have stopped Anthony Joshua at that moment. He finished strong in the 5th, had him in trouble, came out in the 6th, knocked him down, had him in even more trouble. You got to give massive credit to AJ for surviving this. However, he was gassing in the 5th, and he was totally spent in the 6th round. I mean, he was dead on his feet. So much so that he spit his mouthpiece out just to buy himself some time. And he bought some time. Wladimir came on strong, had a good 7th round, good 8th round, and then AJ came back to life. Don't get me wrong. I've seen it before, but not with guys with that much muscle to carry around after they're depleted. I've just not with the muscle guys. I mean, I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying. Evan Fields, Evander Holyfield, had major stamina issues in multiple fights, but he magically recovered in some fights where he appeared to be totally spent. I mean, just totally out. Now, I don't know how Evan Fields, Evander Holyfield, did it. Now, of course, he wasn't as muscular when he fought the white Muhammad Kawi, but if you watch that fight, he was dead at the end of the 5th round. Yet, somehow he went toe-to-toe with Kawi for 15 rounds. That was the 1986 fight of the year. I think Holyfield said he lost somewhere between, what did he say, 10 or 15 pounds after the fight? And I'm telling you, he went back to his corner. Kawi had a big 5th round, and just based on the protocol they had and all the study they did, he should have gotten Evander out after that. And then boom, it's like the light went on and Evander's just energized. Same with Joshua. He just became re-energized, and he threw a monstrous uppercut that I'm still not sure how Klitschko survived. I mean, and he followed it up and dropped the old man, and Klitschko got up like an old man this time. Then there was a follow-up by AJ, and he dropped Klitschko again. Klitschko got up. AJ came in with the flurry, And when he cornered Klitschko, Joshua threw a series of punches, none of which landed, and some of which were blocked. And the referee stopped it. Maybe caught up in the moment, I don't know. But it shouldn't have been stopped there. Now, was Klitschko tired himself at this point? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the fact is, nothing landed in that flurry. So I didn't like the stoppage at that point. To be honest, if he would have stopped it prior to that, when Klitschko got up and he's kind of wobbly, and he could have stopped. I mean, I wouldn't have had a problem there, but at the point that he stopped it, I didn't like it. What made it worse was that on my scorecard, with 1 round to go, Wladimir Klitschko was up by 2 points, just as Judge Steve Weisfeld had it. And then we look at Steve Farhood's card, he had Klitschko up at the stoppage also, by a point. And this is with the knockdowns. Like, he's still up. You understand what I'm saying? He's still up after the knockdowns. A few noticeable things in this fight. A couple of things I noticed, that the clock and the bell weren't in sync. I mean, they just weren't on the same page, meaning there were a couple of rounds that seemed to end prematurely. If you watch the fight again, check it out. Another thing I noticed is Mauro Ranallo overreacted to shots thrown by AJ that were blocked. And I understand it. The punches were explosive when AJ threw them. But it's the other commentators who actually know boxing. It's their job to correct him when, oh, big shot landed. Well, no, it was a big shot, but it was blocked. I noticed he did that numerous times. A few oohs and ahs when punches were thrown, whether they missed or whether they were blocked. And I get that part. I mean, they were explosive punches, so. And speaking of commentators, I'm going to tell you something I can't stand. And I assume this, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, that HBO didn't do live commentating while the fight was on. In other words, they didn't call the fight live as it happened and then show the tape delay on HBO of what they called early on when the fight was live. I don't believe they did that. The way Roy Jones and Jim Lampley were talking, it was as if they watched the fight, took some notes, and then rewatched the fight again with their commentary. And that I don't like. It reminds me of when they show Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson on television. The original team that called the fight that night was Jim Lampley, Larry Merchant, and Ray Leonard. But when they play the version that they show on TV, it has Colonel Bob Sheridan calling it, and Colonel Bob Sheridan, and I'm not sure who else. But when you listen to it, they're calling the action like they know what's coming next because they already saw the fight. I want to hear Roy Jones, Lampley, and whoever call the fight live, and then when you watch the tape later on, it's as if it's organic. It's not inorganic. They're calling it live. If you watched it, took some notes, and then kind of rewatched it and did it that way, it's like you make statements in anticipation of something that you already know is going to happen, and you kind of tip it off that it's going to happen. Anyway, for those who are old-fashioned and don't DVR stuff, and you're going to buy a copy of this fight on DVD, my recommendation is to get the first version that you saw. There was a contract that calls for these guys to do it again. Now, it's hard for me to see Wladimir doing better than he did Saturday night in a rematch. He had his shot, and in my opinion, he let it get away twice. Once when he had Joshua in trouble in the 5th and 6th, and again when he got dropped twice in the 11th round. And what I mean is, if he stays up in that 11th round, even if he loses the round, he still could have won the fight, because he gets 2 points back on the judges' cards if he doesn't get dropped twice in the 11th. You understand what I'm saying? Rematch or not, let's talk about AJ. He'll probably get at least $20 million for this fight to go along with the 10 to 15 million in endorsements. At least 10 to 15 million that he'll earn in 2017. The endorsements he gets each year are in the millions, and I believe it's somewhere. I believe it's somewhere in that 10 to 15 million dollar range. So if you don't think that this could be a $60 million year for him, just remember one thing. Michael Buffer was paid about $5.2 million just to announce the fighters on Saturday night. He got 4 million British pounds. When you convert it to US dollars, it's about $5.2 million. So don't tell me that AJ and Klitschko didn't walk home with some big time money. Anthony Joshua, the world is yours, my friend. He has a chance to make more money than any fighter in history if he keeps this up. He could potentially be boxing's first billionaire if he's not careful. Potentially. He's well spoken. He survived one of the best heavyweights of all time, and he got off the floor to do so and got a stoppage. I mean, what's not to like about this kid right now? AJ's got to get back in the gym and work on his craft. Lennox Lewis was there, and I recommend he talk to Lennox the Lion, double L, on the finer points of boxing. He called Tyson Fury's name at the end of the fight, but I have to be honest. Whoever Joshua fights at this point doesn't matter. While he upset people last week by saying he didn't have to ever fight in the USA, he's kind of reversing course now. He backtracked and saying that it's probably important to fight in the United States. But you know what? I'm kind of down with his first statement. That man doesn't need the US at this point in his career, and he may never need the United States. He's making too much money. Well, let me put it this way. How many people in the world prior to today in the world have heard of Anthony Joshua? If you ask 100 Americans who AJ is, 95 of them will say, who? Now, ask 100 Americans and 100 UK people who Floyd Mayweather is, and somewhere between 195 and 200 of them are going to know who he is. Okay? Out of 200, between 195 and 200. So answer this question. How many fighters in the United States can put 95,000 people in an arena for a boxing match? Think about it. Yet, Anthony Joshua, a guy nobody knows, can do 95,000 in the UK and make 8-figure paydays? Now, most of the people who watch this video live in America. But let's keep it real. Does he really need to come over here? I mean, let's look at the landscape. The Tyson Fury fight, it makes no sense to come to America for that fight. You do it in the UK. The Joseph Parker fight makes 0 sense to have it in America. Alexander Povetkin, Ortiz, Pulev, Dillian White, a Klitschko rematch. None of those fights make sense to have in the United States of America. The only American that you can consider is Deontay Wilder. And my message to Deontay Wilder is, if you want to make some real money, you fight AJ in the same stadium in front of 95,000 people. That's trust me, if he comes over here, great. But at this point, this is his show. And if I ran his show for him, my next 10 fights are going to be in the UK. Unless something incredible happens that draws him to the United States or somewhere else. So, he's the guy right now. I mean, he's the guy. So that makes him a marked man. And you're going to hear everybody calling him out, especially due to the fact that he hit the canvas. He's been rocked before. If you go to round 2 of his fight with Dillian White, he was in trouble. And he got a workout in round 3 also. So he's overcome it. It's going to make him better. I'm hearing the word exposed. Had he lost, he would have been Canelo Alvarez. When Saul Canelo Alvarez, who really wasn't ready at the time, stepped up to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr., even though Alvarez was weight drained, he just wasn't ready. And he lost the fight. But look at what he's done since then. I believed if the same scenario was going to happen here, if Wladimir Klitschko won the fight, AJ probably would have took the rematch, but AJ would have gotten better and learned from it and been in the same position that Canelo is. However, he got to take your hat off to him. He hit the deck. He gassed out. He found that extra reserve tank, and he pulled it out. Fantastic fight. My man Rodney Epps, as he said, this is what boxing needs. And next week, we got Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. For those who will be in Vegas, they also have that Box Expo, which is going to be well attended by a lot of ex-boxers, a lot of current boxers, just a lot of personalities based on the sport of boxing, and people who like boxing, actors, actresses, athletes. So it's the Box Fan Expo in Las Vegas. A lot of paraphernalia you can buy. You can buy signed boxing gloves and magazines, and for the big spenders out there, you can get championship belts that ex-fighters may have owned in the past and may have their signatures on it or what have you. So from a few weeks ago all the way up until pretty much, I guess, the end of June, minus a couple of weeks, we got big fights. I mean, we got Brooke versus Spence Jr. coming up, and got Terrence Crawford and Felix Diaz, Just got a whole lot of stuff coming up, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. And we'll catch you on the next one.